Oops, sorry. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. It is me. I'm back with another video. I've been doing a lot of videos this week. Well, so as I've been telling you all, I was going to do a book review, and I finally finished the book this week at my job. The kids were taking standardized testing, so I didn't have anybody to teach, and I had to proctor and sit in the hall and stuff. So it gave me a chance to really sit down and start reading and finish the book that I was reading. And so the book that I was reading was The Scorch Trials by James Dashner. Okay? So I finally finished reading this. How do I want to start this? I'm going to start this by saying that this is going to be more of a comparison between the movie and the book, The Scorch Trials. I watched the movie in September, about a week after it came out. I watched it. And I had already started the book by this point, so I was already familiar about some of the things that were going on. So, let me say, they're very different. And if you've read the book and you saw the movie, you know that they were very different. So I'm going to say, honestly, I preferred the book much better. Again, let me show it. See? Scorch Trials. But honestly, I preferred the book much better. I thought the book was a lot more original, and I thought it was less predictable than the movie. And it just seemed more inspired. Well, yeah, it just was more inspired to me than the movie. In the movie, I'm just going to say, let me just start off by just giving a brief summary of the movie. In the movie, I didn't watch the first movie, but I did watch the second movie. They basically, what I'm believing happened, because I don't think that they changed the first movie too much. What I'm believing is that they got out the maze, and the people who got them brought them to the building that they're in. So that was the same for both books, for both the movie and the book. But then it quickly changed in the fact that in the movie it seemed like they were there with a bunch of other people, but in the book it was only the Gladers that were there, the Gladers who were there with some other boys. But in the movie it seemed like there was a bunch of other people and stuff, which was the first change. On top of that, if I remember, oh, Teresa was still in the building, and they just had to find the room that she was in and take her from that room in the movie, whereas in the books, she was completely gone. Like, she just wasn't with them at all, wasn't in the same place. So that was different. Also, Winston, the way that Winston died in the movie versus the book was very different. In the book, he first was he almost got his head taken off by this metal blob thing that would pop out from the walls and like attack one of the Gladers at a time, and just kind of swallow their head up into the point where their head is totally encased by metal, and then it just kind of severs their head, and their head is this ball that rolls off their body, and then their body starts to ooze some weird liquid stuff. And so at first, he almost got killed by that, but Thomas ended up helping him rip the stuff off of his head, and he was bald. And after that, it ripped off his head, and he was hair, and he was bald, and like he had a bunch of scars on his face, and he was really traumatized. And then they kept going, and then as they were in the Scorch, I believe they didn't see him after the whole lightning storm, and it's kind of you're led to believe that he got struck by lightning and was one of the um, few of them that was killed by like that. In the book or in the movie, however, Winston was um, killed by the cranks. Not he wasn't killed by them, but he was infected by the cranks. It like scratched him. They didn't bite him; they scratched him and got deep into. So they broke his skin. It was enough for him to be infected. Um, and then he ended up shooting himself, so he didn't become like them because as they were going on, he kept getting worse, and it got to the point where he realized like, um, I'm just going to become like them. So instead of becoming like them and going after you all and finding you all to do the same to you, I'm just going to kill myself with a gun. I didn't really like that. It just was really predictable. Whereas I think the other thing uh, went along better with the story. What happened in the book went along better in the story. I didn't like how they talked about the cranks. In the movie, the cranks were basically zombies. And we're in this time right now where zombies are super popular, and I get that. And, you know, zombies really sell movies nowadays, and people want to go see zombie flicks and want to see a zombie kill somebody, and people get infected by zombies. And I get that, but it's not very original. And the way that this movie was, it was very much these cranks were zombies and they just really had no mind, and they were just like out for blood, not out for blood, but out to kill and eat. And yeah, just very chaotic. Um, and no method to their madness. It was just like kind of just zombies, and it was, I didn't like that. Whereas in the book, they were, first off, everybody had the flare, whereas in the movie, they were trying to stay away from getting the flare. But in the book, everybody has the flare, at least all the gladers do. And pretty much anybody who's been put in the scorch has the flare, and at some point, they're going to go crazy. And they're trying to find a way, trying to go as quickly as they can to find a way to get a cure for all of them so that they don't go crazy from the flare. Um, and in the book, they meet some of the cranks, and the cranks aren't really zombies. They're still people, um, and they're just people with they're just like in varying stages of uh, madness and going crazy and just losing their mind and their ability to reason, their ability to make logical decisions. Um, you go from people like the Gladers who are kind of in the very beginning stages of the flare. It doesn't really affect them. They're still doing what they do. They're still functioning well. They're still using their heads the way it's supposed to be used. Then you have people like Jorge and Brenda who have the flare, but they're a little further. They're just a tiny bit further along than the Gladers are with their stage of it, and it's not that much different. The only difference is that um, they seem to be a little bit more violent in nature than the Gladers are. Then you have people who were with Brenda and Jorge who could speak and who could reason and all that stuff and did make sense. I forgot his name, but he was the older one who had been in the Scorch for a little while. And who but he was a little more prone to violence and a little more prone to killing people to get his way. And then you have people who they met, like who Brenda and Thomas met in the tunnel, who are completely gone and just like really just mad and just wanted to kill them, and just had all these weapons and just weren't really didn't really care what about the fact that these are two people and two young kids at that. They just wanted to kill them. Um, so it was. I like that version of the Cranks better just because I think there's a lot more to them. It's a lot more depth to it than just a zombie, you know. You could really explore kind of the mental stages that one goes through and how your brain and your mental state and all that um, starts to decompose and it starts to get destructed as time goes on. Um, what else? The Scorch itself in the movie, it was really just a desert, and you didn't really get much from it. It was just hot and uncomfortable. Whereas in the book, the Scorch is actually like excruciatingly hot, excruciatingly bright. Um, it's really bright, it's really hot. They have to protect themselves in the book so that their skin doesn't really burn off because it's just that hot. And they have to plan around the how hot it is, and they have to do a lot of their travels. They have to be strategic in how they travel because of how hot it is. Also, the way that Teresa betrays Thomas is very, very um, predictable in the movie, whereas in the book, it's very, again, it's thought out better. There's a lot of different things that are going on. There's a lot of trickery. There's a lot of manipulation that goes on in the book where it's like, for me, I feel exactly like Thomas. Like, I'm not sure if she's really pulling my leg or if she's being truthful. There was a point when her and Eris kissed and were saying, "Oh, I love him" and stuff, which I was totally taken back by. There's a lot of manipulation in the book that I thought was very well played out, that they didn't really do in the movie, and I thought it would have made for a much better movie. One other thing that I really wanted them to do was the end was very, again, it just was predictable. Just they get infiltrated by Wicked at this camp in the movie, this safe haven camp. Whereas in the book, they find the safe haven and like there's a lot of things that they have to do. There's like um, these creatures at the end of it that they had to fight. And it was the Gladers and the girls that had to fight. The female Gladers, I don't know what their group is called. They didn't really talk about any of that at all. They didn't in the movie. They didn't really talk about like Thomas and Teresa's like history and like that backstory because it's pretty important. Honestly, there's just a lot that I really enjoyed in the book. And I thought the movie was good. The movie I still felt was good, but it wasn't great. And I felt like if they had stuck closer to the book, I thought it would have been a better movie. Um, so yeah, that was it. It was a great book. I definitely recommend it. I recommend the Maze Murder series. I've read the first two. I'm gonna be on the lookout to find the Death Cure pretty soon here after I finish this next book that I'm reading. But yeah, that's all I have for my review. Um, Let me know how you feel about it. Yeah, that's it. I will see you all later on this week with the review for an album, which I will be doing this week. So, yay. Yeah. Yeah, this is Roxas, and I'll be back soon. Bye.